I want to certainly thank Freedom House for its leadership in this. I think this is the most important and systematic tracking of what is happening to freedom and integrity of information and expression on the internet over a number of years now, using, I think, a very good and responsible methodology, very transparent methods, and very uninhibited analysis, again, even of countries we think of as democracies. One of the many things that is so sobering about this report is that it's not just authoritarian regimes that are doing these things. It's countries like the Philippines and India that are formally democratic political systems, but are moving in, at a minimum, in increasingly illiberal direction.
The importance of this report is that the attacks on rights and the attacks on freedoms around the globe are really bound up in the internet. And our greatest concerns are also tied up in the way that the current technological revolution may enable even more sophisticated systems of repression. And that's what we're here to talk about today with our annual Freedom of the Net report. And it's a brand new edition. It's titled The Rise of Digital Authoritarianism. The clear theme of this year's report is the growing recognition that the internet, which was once seen as a liberating technology, is increasingly being used to disrupt and undermine democracy, as opposed to building up democracy and destabilizing dictatorships.
We think of this Freedom on the Net report as not only a signature product for Freedom House, but really a very important foundation for the global conversation about the state of internet freedom, and a really important frame of reference for understanding the trajectory on digital rights globally.
Coordinated activity in groups is something that's done by very legitimate organizations, particularly as you mentioned in your excellent presentation. It can be used to increase freedom in a society, but also at the same time, this is a dual-use technology, and in the hands of a military or intelligence apparatus, or even a group of malign individuals, it can be used to do quite the opposite. It's really a function of the idea of sort of small world social networks, the idea that people, when they are placed into online structures with particular dynamics, tend to move in a particular direction. How do we balance freedom of expression with the fact that these tools and these groups in particular are being used remarkably well by terrorist organizations and extremists to radicalize others in such a way that you never have the counter speech because no one in the group is going to counter speak.
Patriotic trolling is state-sponsored harassment and hate campaigns. What these troll armies are doing is, of course, two things at the same time. On the one hand, there's a clear focus on suppressing speech. I think it's also important for us to note that these troll armies are also used, for instance, to mass flag the post of the people they're trying to silence. And so from the platform's perspective, suddenly you have a journalist account that everyone says, oh, wow, that's hate speech. Sometimes it actually gets caught and it gets taken down before the platforms have time to investigate and realize that this was the result of the coordinated action and has been taken down by mistake. So there's a clear intent of suppressing speech, sometimes by gaming these flagging systems. And then there's a clear intent, too, of just flooding this person with extraordinarily rough threats, sometimes of sexual nature when it targets women, which I will say is more often than not.
I think inevitably we will end up with some kind of tripartite division of the internet between, say, the laissez-faire free-for-all that we have here, unregulated, then the opposite extreme, the Chinese complete authoritarian model, and then this kind of intermediate privacy-respecting but nonetheless interventionist approach of the European Union, which we see with GDPR, and I predict all kinds of other things. Too much of our energy is focused on what Yevgeny Morozov calls solutionism, which is, oh, there must be a technical fix. I think that there are things that you don't, I mean, there's too much for a technical fix. We may have to reorganize democracy.
I helped create all this, and I'm in despair now for what these technologies are doing to our democracy and our society. And the oops, we broke it, that move fast and break things. Well, this one, the things we're breaking, we can't just say, oops. Today's technologies, I believe, are impacting the development of critical thinking, our personal authority, the blind trust dynamic we have with these technologies. And the reason why this is so important is it makes us more susceptible to authoritarian control. This desire to make everything so easy, instantaneous, the elimination of friction, I would argue, is at odds with a working liberal democracy. Democracies are by definition hard and require friction. Authoritarianism, frankly, is a lot easier, but not, I don't think, where we all want to be. We are in a controlling relationship, a bullying, controlling, authoritarian, blind trust relationship with technology overall. And whether it's as users, as academics, as policymakers, as citizens, we need to be on an equal footing. That doesn't mean these services go away. We need governance, but not a single institution doing it. It needs to be balanced and collective.
They've gone from national to global, and their goal is no longer what it was or was seen to be for a long period of time, which was simply to develop the country and defend the unchallenged hegemony of the Chinese Communist Party. Their goal now, I think we've got to face it. This is a radical statement. I think it is a defensible statement, is regional and global dominance. It is global dominance of all of these technologies. If you doubt it, read the Defense Innovation Unit report, China's Technology Transfer Strategy, which is the single scariest document I have ever read about any global challenge other than, bird flu or climate change. There is just no separation, meaningfully, ultimately, between all of these Chinese technology companies and the Chinese Communist Party state. They may pursue profit, they may pursue innovation, they may operate like Google and Facebook. When the party says, hand over your data, when the party says, serve our interests, they have no option but to comply. We need much more explicit policies than what you guys are recommending. We need policies that are going to inform companies and societies around the world about the real motives of Chinese digital engagement, corporate infrastructure building, and so on and so forth. We need to fight China's data localization requirements, but that's going to be very difficult. We need to block China's acquisition of any more US data companies, period. I think no Chinese telecom company should be allowed to build any 5G network or, frankly, any other telecom infrastructure in the United States, because any such construction is going to be immediately sent back to supercomputers in the People's Republic of China. And finally, I think we need to support around the world internet freedom advocacy and monitoring organizations. This is something I think you're very much on top of, that are going to wake up to this and all of the things around us. We've got maybe 5 to 8 years to win this battle before it's completely lost. And China is the digital superpower of the world, with databases and surveillance mechanisms, not only for their own people, and not only for the people of Zimbabwe and Venezuela and all the other corrupt autocracies that are selling their souls to the Chinese Communist Party state, but for all the democracies of the world that they're penetrating and investing in.